Welcome to another episode of Inside the Message. And we're back. Glad to be back with you. I'm Brother T. This is my beautiful wife, Rev Claudia Renee.
Rev Renee.
Yes. And so we're glad to be back with you here for another episode of Inside the Message. And let's just jump right in. I think we're going to be discussing last Sunday's talk.
Which is the one that you gave, right? And so I'm going to ask you a couple questions. But first of all, I do want to say, hey, you, how you doing? So glad that you joined us. And hey, you.
Glad to
All
be
right.
here.
Yeah. So the message from Sunday was given by Brother T. Great message, by the way. Thank you so much. And it was entitled Beyond Bitterness, Beyond Bitterness. So right out of the gate, I just want to ask you, what inspired you to select that as your talk title and the subject matter?
Well, it's, I guess, because we've been talking about living from love. And so the contrast between that mind and the mind of fear. So there's, backing up, we've got two thought systems. We got the thought system of love, and we have the thought system of fear.
Can you repeat that, please?
And the thought system of fear is dun dun dun. Yeah. So we have these two thought systems, and we call the thought system of fear the thought system of the world, or the egoic thought system. And both of them are completely, wholly contained within themselves. In other words, the thought system of fear is really, once you buy into that, once you get in it, immersed in it, it's almost like you can't see your way out, because everything that you're experiencing makes sense, because we've talked about the world being reflective and the thoughts are things. And so here we are creating the very reverberation, or the very validation of the thoughts that we're having. We have a thought about fear, and then suddenly, it's validated because it manifests as our experience, right? And so we can start to see how the ego thinking self can be a faulty thought system, and we can begin to change the way that we see it and step back from it, right? And once we get out of our head, in other words, the intellectual construct of the ego mind, then it feels like we're kind of home safe. And so now we can begin to, move more towards connecting with the thought system of love, the thought system of God, the thoughts of God, connecting with these thoughts that are where there's no possibility of fear, there's no possibility of guilt, all those things come together, right? But that last step, and I have to apologize, because I felt like I was already running long in the talk, and I didn't really get to what I wanted to kind of get to there.
Well, let's pause for a minute. Take a breath with me.
Okay.
All right. And so I also want to say that these two thought systems that Brother T and I have been talking about, that we've been talking about for some time, are like two different languages.
Yes. Yeah,
and so there's the language of love and the language of fear. And they don't understand each other's language. And I think that was a really wonderful illustration that you brought forth. So I think that's really important before we move on, that it's as if there are two different languages. There is no translator.
That's right.
They are self-containing systems and languages. And I think that's important for us all to know, and that we're either in one or the other in a given instant. So you started to say that there was something that you wanted to get to, and you got towards it a little bit at the end of the talk. What was that?
Well, I mean, and that's the rub, because when I was preparing for the talk, I was focused on this idea of bitterness, and that was why I titled it that, and that's where I was trying to get to. But what was coming through was about these two different languages, and by the time I kind of got through that, which happens to us a lot, we end up with two or three talks, two or three things that could be different talks, because they're fairly dense. And it's hard to get it all in there.
And that's the beauty of having two videos a week. And we're continuously pulling the threads of previous messages. So I think it's fine that it happens that way. Right. So you were focused on the idea of bitterness. You mentioned something about the last shield.
Well,
and I was imagining it had to do with this bitterness, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Am I connecting a dot
you
there?
are. You are.
Okay.
And appropriately.
Yeah.
But the last step really is the shield or the protector or the armor of the heart. When we are young as a child, and we may bring some of this back into this incarnation from past lives or whatever, but that doesn't matter. But when we are experiencing our parents as an example, or our teachers, or our family members, or even outside of that inner circle, when people don't treat the ego the way the ego feels safe, okay, it protects itself by putting up barriers, okay? And the first barriers are anger and then depression. And, there's a whole long list of attributes of the intellectual mind, if you will, of ego, the thought system. But the part of us that feels damaged is like, you broke my heart. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't
So
say.
you mean after you get through the outer layer of anger and then maybe resentment, vengeance, and
grievances,
blame, and then self-blame,
get even with them,
depression,
all of that stuff, attack.
Right, but outward attack is the outer shell. Then the inner shell might be more like depression, where it's self-attack.
Right.
Could that be correct? And
yeah.
And then this inner layer, that last shield, is that bitterness? Is that what you're saying?
That's what protects the heart.
Because it's protecting the heart, as if I've been betrayed or you broke my heart, like that type of thing.
Well, let me ask you something. When somebody causes you pain,
yes,
do you say, "Oh, you broke my mind"?
No.
What do you say?
I say, my heart feels broken.
Okay, so how do you protect your heart? You put up a shield of bitterness.
Okay.
I don't want to, you could say, "I forgive you."
Right.
But I don't ever want to see you again.
Right.
That's a shield of bitterness.
Yes.
And it's subtle, and it's because you're protecting what you believe to be your vulnerability.
So the energy of bitterness versus a healthy boundary, though.
Nothing wrong with a healthy boundary.
Okay.
Okay.
Because
not at all.
I may forgive.
But if
I may forgive, and I still may choose to have a boundary where, I'm not interested. We're at a different vibration. I don't want to hang out with you anymore.
Right. But let me say it this way.
Okay.
In order to get to true forgiveness, you have to move beyond the armor of the heart.
Okay.
You're not truly forgiving. If you're still holding bitterness and you're still seeing something that happened and you're still saying, "That's real. You really did hurt me." Then you're still locked in bitterness. You might think you're forgiving them, but you're not. The ego is impossible. It cannot forgive because it's not capable of forgiveness, because it believes an illusion is real.
So have you experienced personally recently a shield of bitterness that you've become aware of?
As in this lifetime? Yes.
And I just meant like the last couple of years, or something, like an example that you could share with us.
Well,
or it could be from a long time ago.
I did kind of share a little bit in my talk, that there are people that I have worked with, and then I felt like I'm a leader and I'm going in one direction, but then suddenly somebody that's above me, so to speak, in a structure of corporate structure or whatever it might be, changes gears and said, "No, we're not going to do what Tony wants to do. We're going to go this way." And then people that I thought were loyal to me and my ideas said, "Well, we're going to go follow that." Right. And then I felt anger. Okay. And I said, "Okay, fine. I don't, and I'm like, I don't care if I ever see you again, but okay, fine. I'll forgive you." It wasn't forgiveness at all, right? And so what I realized later was that even years later, I was holding bitterness because I got through it intellectually, but there was still a feeling in the heart of woundedness, right? And that's not possible because you're invulnerable.
Right. Okay.
If you keep returning to this axiom, you are as God created you to be, right? You are as God created you to be. I am safe, and nothing I do or don't do can threaten my safety. And another way of saying it is, nothing I do or don't do can threaten, or anything that you can do or not do can threaten my vulnerability, my invulnerability, I should say, because I am invulnerable. right? But if I still am holding an idea in my mind that I can't be around you because I'm not safe, that last barrier is what we do to protect the heart. And it's the energy of bitterness. I feel wounded and I'm holding a bitterness about it. And so it's like a shield for the heart, right?
So it's the last shield that
It's the
protects
last barrier. We could say the
heart.
last barrier.
Okay.
Because you don't say you broke my mind, you say
then
you broke my heart.
So the axioms that carry us beyond bitterness is, we also wanted to tie in, or you wanted to tie in early in your conversation, when we were speaking about living from love, so living from the mind of love, and we've talked about how to do that. The little axiom that we were using was that there is only gain, no loss. And so the companion then to this that you introduced during this message was, I am safe. Nothing I do or don't do can impact or affect my safety.
Right.
Another way of putting this biblically is when it says, you cannot add 1 cubit or take 1 cubit away. So there's this essence of who we are that is kind of untouchable and invulnerable to the world. And this is what you're talking about, that even bitterness, even the shard of bitterness that remains melts in this idea of there's only gain, there's no loss.
Yeah.
I am safe. I am safe. I am safe.
And nothing I do or don't do can threaten my safety.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So we don't have to do anything. You can do whatever you want to do.
It's an invitation. It's all an invitation.
It's an invitation, and I invite you to repeat this to yourself as a practice, right? Because if we'll continue to say these things, we're reprogramming our unconscious conditioned mind, right? Because we see something on the TV and we go, oh, I should be afraid. Fear begets more fear. We begin to see things, and then our mind, our unconscious mind, what bubbles up and becomes the language that we hear is, but I'm safe because I am as God created me to be. I'm perfect, neither behind the point of perfection nor advancing toward it. I am invulnerable. I am spirit. I am love. We got, we go down our list of things, right?
And I must see myself therefrom.
Right. And so we continue to reprogram our unconscious mind, right? Our conditioned mind. And so what begins to happen is the heart, that last barrier of bitterness, begins to break open, right? And spirit then begins to emerge from it. I should say spirit, I should say love, I should say the voice of love and truth, right? So I was, and it goes back a few years ago actually, but I was in a circle gathering with you and some other people in a spiritual community. And some of these people were the leaders of that community. And we were just considering, we were visioning together, and we had I think there was only 4 or 5 of us.
Right.
And we're sitting at this little table, and we're all, prayer, and I believe you were leading a prayer. And in the midst of that, and I'm sharing a personal experience here, in the midst of that, I'm sitting there and I'm listening to what you're saying, and I'm just feeling this energy, and suddenly this voice came through me, and here's what it said. It said, I love you. And when I heard that, my heart literally broke open. It just shattered. And I had to get up and leave the table because I was literally I knew that I couldn't contain myself. And I went into the bathroom. I went to the bathroom and I was bawling, crying because I knew the truth that in that moment, it broke through the bitterness of my heart. There was that final little thin barrier. And it's the last little barrier that protects the heart. And so now I can say, you can't break my heart, right? I'm not going to hold anything against you, right? Now, out of integrity, I might say, I want to keep moving towards more and more love, right? And I hope you'll join me someday. But I'm going to keep moving in this direction. It doesn't mean I don't love you. It doesn't mean that I have bitterness or vengeance or guilt, or not guilt, but a grievance against you. But because my heart is open now, I still want to kind of, shield and protect it because that shield of bitterness is, once that's gone, your heart's just wide open.
Mm. And fear not.
Yeah, you can't fear from
There's
that.
nothing really that is necessary to protect that.
Yeah, you get
Love
that.
needs no protection. Right. Love needs no champion, really.
Yeah.
Love is self-evident. It is what we are. And I love that. I'm so glad that we had this opportunity to unpack that. I love what was said in the message. I think the language that you were speaking of and the reinforcement of there's only gain, no loss, and then adding, I am safe. Nothing I do or don't do can impact my invulnerability, can take away that invulnerability.
Can threaten it.
Right. So imagine then, like I'm saying this to all of us, I guess it's not really a question, just imagine walking through life that way.
Yeah.
No chip on your shoulder, nothing in front of your heart. Feels vulnerable, might feel vulnerable. And yet it is in our vulnerability of having the courage, which is to be of heart, to walk in the world that way with the trust and knowing that I'm invulnerable. Yeah. That aspect of me, the mind of love, the heart of love is invulnerable.
Jesus says it this way. He says that your strength lies in your defenselessness.
My strength lies in my defenselessness. Say that.
Yeah.
Say that right now. My strength lies in my defenselessness.
And that's another way of saying, I am safe, and nothing I do or don't do can threaten my safety.
Beautiful.
I don't need to defend anything. So if I don't want to, this is where we really begin to see how the ego mind is so subtle. I love you and I forgive you, but I don't ever want to see you again. Well, you're still using defense. You really are. There's a part of you that's still feeling wounded and still feeling, even though you may have transcended anger, you may have transcended grief, or you may have transcended, a grievance and vengeance. And those are those high energy thoughts, right? All right, I'm forgiving you. I've forgotten all that. I'm gonna put my gun away now. I'm really not going to shoot you now. But I was going to if I ever saw you. There was one guy one time that I thought it hurt me so bad. I carried a bat around in my trunk because I thought if I ever saw him, I'm just going to club the shit out of it. And so that's how crazy we can get. Now I was a young guy. That was a long, long time ago. But we have to be honest with our thoughts, right? We have to be, and I never did see the guy again. Never saw him again, ever, right?
Not yet.
Well,
and if you did now.
Maybe in the next life.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But anyway, the point is that's how crazy that this egoic mind is. It always operates between suspicious and vicious, right?
Yeah.
So the point is we when we get past those intellectual thoughts of get even with them, if that, then this. If you hurt me, I will do this, right? If you hurt me, I will do this. I will withdraw. I will isolate my relationship with you, whatever we might want to do, right? But when we get past all of those intellectual barriers, and we can do that through spiritual work, right? But when that last barrier, that last shield, that last a suit of armor, right? Shield of armor, is removed, then as Jesus said, when I think it was Peter came to him, he drew his sword and he says, I'm going to protect you. And Jesus said, put your sword away. I can't be persecuted. I can't. I'm perfectly safe. He was saying to Peter, his disciple, I cannot be harmed because I'm not this. And that's where we have to get to, but we don't have to get there until we're ready. But the point, and I don't know why I keep saying have to, but the point is that the work that we're doing begins to break that final barrier. And then we are speaking, as Jesus said, when you see me, you see the Father. We're now speaking from the mind of certainty. And that mind already, it's beyond it. The ego and its fear and its thoughts of vulnerability and all that stuff is gone. It's no longer part of our thought system.
Right.
And it moves back to we're in two thought systems.
Right.
We're the thought system of fear or the thought system of love.
Beautiful. Perfect.
Yeah.
Lovely. Just lovely. So what we're practicing then are these statements. I am as God created me. Boom. Just feel that.
Just feel
I
that.
am as God created me. There is no loss, only gain. Or you could say it, there is only gain, no loss.
And there's no possibility of loss. There's only gain.
And then finally, this idea that I am safe. Nothing I do or don't do is going to impact my invulnerability.
That's
my
right.
invulnerability. So
Safety.
these are the statements that we're working with right now. Work with these, speak these, have them
Repeat
in your journal, and notice what thoughts come up that seem to contradict them. And we'll be meeting for our Zoom in about 5-10 minutes here, and we'll have conversation. Bring your questions, bring your heart. Let us connect with one another. We're so very grateful for your presence now, and we invite you to join us on that call.
Yep.
And then I'm going to be speaking this Sunday about how to feel safe, how to be safe.
Awesome.
In what feels like an unsafe world right now.
Yeah.
Because really the salutation that we say to everybody now is stay safe, be safe. And we're going
to wear a mask, be safe.
Right. So
That's
we're talking.
Those are attack thoughts.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So we're not saying don't wear a mask. We're saying that's not what I was saying.
Sorry.
What I was saying is when we say that, and that's become very popular way for news anchors, for us to say goodbye to one another right now, we're going to talk about how to truly be safe. How to truly be safe. So thank you.
I'm looking forward to that.
I am too, because, And
then we'll unpack that again
a
week from today.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it just keeps going like that because,
going.
All of these principles, and they're all interconnected.
Absolutely.
And so if you feel like you missed one or you're just hopping in right now, that's okay, because it's circuitous and
we'll be coming back around.
It all connects. So
it'll all come back around.
We love you. I love you. Thank
love
you. It was so much fun. We love you.
And thanks for hanging out with us through the end of our discussion tonight. And if you're new, and this is the first time, you can join our Zoom sessions. And if you want to know how to do that, you just go to our website, truethought.org, and join our mailing list. And we send out an invitation every week with instructions about how to join the Zoom sessions.
Yes. And then it has all of our other information. We do daily lessons of A Course in Miracle as a podcast. You can access that through truethought.org, as well as access our YouTube station from there as well. We love you.
We love you. All is well. And I hope to see you on the Zoom.
Yeah.
God bless.
God bless.
Born from the strength of love.